Good morning, everybody. So, doing a live video this morning because this one's dedicated to my sister. My sister, Kathy, is having a birthday today, and she's 32 forever. And now that I'm past 32, I also espouse to that same mindset of being 32 forever. So when you are trying to feel like you're 32 forever, say we're just barely past that point, or maybe we're well past that point and it doesn't really matter. It's the mindset of being able to move and act and think like a 32-year-old, right? Remember back when you were 32? Like, what did that feel like to you? Did that feel like you were pretty invincible? Illness was not going to be part of your lifestyle. When my sister was 32, she was rock climbing, she was bouldering, she was outdoors, she was like the nature girl of the century. She was a flight attendant for TWA, so she was flying, she was traveling, like she was invincible. And I think when we think back to when we were 32, that we didn't think about how we moved. We didn't think about our future health. Like, are we going to end up in a rest home? Like, that's not a thought at 32. You're like, nah, I'm going to feel this good forever. And so here's the thing. If you ever start lamenting, wish it wasn't that way, wish I wasn't this way, I wish I had started taking care of myself sooner, I wish I had practiced fat loss a long time ago so I didn't have such a long ways to go to get back to feeling 32 again. Lamenting is depression, anxiety. It puts you in a state of inaction. It makes you sit still and hold your breath and hang on for dear life. It puts you in survival mode rather than being able to thrive in your life. So interestingly enough, there was a study done at Harvard University, and they took 80-year-old men. This was back in the 50s. And they took 80-year-old men and said, we are going to ask you, because we're going to put you in a situation where you can act like you were 50 again. And so they're like, you're going to think like you're 50, you're going to move like you're 50, you're going to be remembering and having memories about when you were 50. They gave them name tags with a picture of themselves when they were 50, and they put these men in a group, and they did the study. They did pre-tests on blood tests and even grip strength and things that would matter. It would show a difference between an 80-year-old and a 50-year-old, right? And then they took another group of 80-year-olds and were like, okay, we're going to put you in a situation where you remember and think about the good old days back when you were 50 years old and how good life was back then versus now. And the study was really interesting because within 5 days, 5 to 6 days, this study group that had been said, you're 50 again. Like, you get to act 50, move like you're 50, carry your own bags, do your own yard work. Like, you're 50 again. When a group of reviewers, people that were just kind of rating, guessing, looking just at the physical appearance of these two groups, after just 5 days, you know, the group versus the group that was lamenting and remembering and wishing that they were 50 again because 80 is hard, and then holding them up against the 50 or the 80-year-olds that were acting 50, there was a vast difference. And the people that were rating them, just looking at their physical appearance and blood tests and all that, didn't know how long they had been practicing being 50 or been in this environmental test. And they guessed as a panel on average that there was about a 10-year difference between the 80-year-olds in the different groups. That's after 5 days. So if we're moving, like I know you've seen people try and get up off the floor, right? And it looks like this. It's like, and they're struggling to find their way back up to a standing position. But in your 50s or in your 30s, if you were 32, you were just like, down on the ground, right back up. Pick up the kids, right back up. Like we didn't even think about moving. And so here's the thing about a mindset. The mindset of fat loss is that you think like you're 32. I've actually had clients get on the floor. I'm like, okay, I'd like you to get back up again. And the exercise is just not give them any instruction, just get up. And it's like moving lead. And then I'm like, okay, now I want you to get up off the floor like you're 32 again. And you just in that mindset, just in the instruction alone, people get up off the floor so much easier. There's no grunting. There's no strain. They're not thinking about it. They just get down, get up. Get down, get up. And it's the coolest thing, because if I demonstrate get down, get up, they're like, oh yeah. And that's the comment they make. They're like, oh yeah, I remember. Like I didn't even think about picking my kids up. I didn't think about hauling groceries in. I didn't think about how carefully I had to move so I didn't get hurt. And they get down, get up. When you start to get fit again, you're back in that mindset. Get down, get back up. And the most important thing you can remember about being 32 forever is how you view yourself and how you think about it, because culturally, I can't think of the word. Our culture supports old age. Meaning, if you're 80, they're going to treat you like you're 80. It's like, oh, don't pick up that bag. That's too heavy for you. Look at you. You're 80 years old. You're fragile. So in that study that was done at Harvard, the sad part is within 60 days, all the gains that were made by the group who practiced being 50 again in the way they moved and thought and performed, they lost all the gains within 60 days of coming home, because the culture didn't support the idea of being young-minded. And so as soon as, the 80-year-olds got back to their environment, their family was right there. It's like, oh, stay in your chair and I'll get you food. Don't pick that up. It's too heavy for you. You're 80. You're fragile. And so they went back to being old. Like, age is just a number. And the mindset, and I've told this story before, the mindset is huge, because my sister, who is probably only 90 pounds right now, has multiple sclerosis. And she has been in a wheelchair for years. There's probably not hardly a muscle left on her body because of the atrophy of sitting. However, when she and her husband go out, she forgets to take the wheelchair, the handicap, hanger to put on her rear view mirror, because she forgets she's handicapped. She can't get in and out of bed by herself, nor can she get dressed by herself. But she forgets that she's handicapped. Like, this is not something that she's ever considered herself as. So she's running a pet spa. Like, she is as independent as anybody could possibly be in her situation. Like, she insists on getting her scooter, and she's going to move it around, and she's going to do whatever she can do, and rarely ask for help. So not only is she 32 forever in her mindset, but she's 32 forever in her health and her wellness and her centeredness in who she is. Like, she's not a handicap. She wasn't born a handicap. And handicap to her means helpless. She's like, no, I have the power of choice. I can choose to be happy today or not. In fact, she made that comment to me the other day, which, sorry, Kathy, I didn't respond to your... I was driving with Carl in the car, and we were having deep discussions, so I apologize that I didn't get back to your message. But she was right. Like, the power of choice, to choose to be 32 forever, to choose to be healthy, to choose a better way for yourself, every time, hands down, it is the right thing to do. It's here. It starts here. Like the only time we ever really make a change physically is when we start thinking about it differently. Like yesterday I did the post on offering yourself an opportunity to get strong, to get healthy, to move well, versus giving yourself a chance. There's a limit to how much you're going to give before you're all done giving, because it's like there's nothing being received, right? But when you offer yourself a chance to get strong, obviously that's a mindset shift. You're choosing to give yourself forever. Like there's no hurry. It's not a diet. It's not weight loss. It's fat loss, which is about taking care of yourself, right? So super important. Like this is a mindset shift. There are two modes for your immune system. It is either taking care of yourself or not. Like your immune system even responds to that mindset of offering yourself health versus giving yourself health. And the thought process of how you act, how you move. I will take 2 stairs at a time for as long as I can because I can. And oftentimes the way I choose to move has everything to do with my sister, who would be probably more active than I am out climbing rocks and being in the desert and living large, because that's how she is. That's who she is. And she still is that way in her mind. And so I'm like, well, I have no excuse. Like, I'm going to get up and go. I'm going to do this. And that's a mindset shift, right? And I had that shift when I was 38. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get stuck in my body. Like, there's a better way for me to think and move other than sitting in a chair and wasting away. Although I was raising 5 kids, I wasn't wasting away. However, I do know that, like, my mom saw her sisters go through some difficult times. One in particular who had a hip replacement. It didn't go well, and she was in the hospital. They couldn't close up the wound. I mean, it was way back in the day when they were just getting the processes down for hip replacements, and it didn't go well. It scared my mom. So she's like, well, if you don't use it, you won't lose it. And I guarantee that is not the way to go, because she sat in a recliner for the better part of 8 to 10 years. And one day when she was shuffling along, she had Parkinson's at the time, so the shuffling was a thing, but she didn't have the muscle strength to decelerate a fall, and she caught her foot on the ground and dislocated her ankle and broke a vertebrae in her back, and she laid there for a couple of days till somebody found her. And that's no way to live. It's no way to go, and it was just a matter of time before she was out. So super important. Use what you have. Do not sit there and watch your health decline. Don't do it. Like, have this mindset shift. It's like, no, I remember what it was like to be 32. But if you remember what it was like to be 32 and you lament that you're not, you're going to sit there and feel anxious and depressed. But if you do something because it requires action to be 32, that's not to think about being 32. It's actually to act like you're 32. Take 2 stairs at a time. And if you can't get there, that's a goal. If you're not able to do 2 stairs at a time, that's your goal. To be able to move freely, act freely, think freely, because when you have your health, everything is possible. Everything. There's nothing you can't do when you feel good. And so get on board. Get on board. Start somewhere. And people have been doing a lot of walking lately. They put on their Fitbit, right? Thank you, Terry. You're right. Never surrender to your age when you are young at heart. And you, Terry, you're somebody that's 32 right here, and you did something about it. Good job. So that is the thing. It's action. Action is required, right? You are 32 here. Everybody that ever comes into fitness level 10 sits down with hope on their face that maybe this is an opportunity to make the outside move and act like they feel on the inside. And then suddenly the outside starts to manifest because there is an element of care, doing it right, doing enough without guessing. But their mindset is, I want to have more fun. And that's what we all want. That's what 32 is. It's having more fun. It's the choice. It's choosing. to have a life that is full of adventure. You know, if you want to travel and it's not a thing right now, get yourself to the point where you can travel. If your finances are not where you'd want them to be, you got to get up and get moving, change your state, take some action, and watch yourself dream about how else you can make money so that your finances are what you always knew they could be. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, the mindset shift of being 32 forever, of taking action, of acting and moving and treating yourself like you're 32 without the lamenting of, I wish I hadn't waited so long to get into shape. It's a game changer. It's a game changer. And you will see yourself living fired up. Here we go. Have an amazing day.